Hey, welcome to our new groundbreaking 12-week live podcast series that delves deep into the heart of the hairdressing world, promising to change the way you view you and your salon experience forever. Hosted by the dynamic duo, myself and Mariana, two seasoned hairstylists with a passion for innovation and authenticity. This podcast is your guide to unlocking the power of change from the inside out. With candid live discussions, expert insights, and a touch of humor, myself and Mariana create a safe and inspiring space for listeners to embrace change, boost their self esteem, and unlock their true potential. Are you ready to step into the world where hairdressing is more than just a service, but a path to personal growth and empowerment? Join me and Mariana on this new series and be part of the movement that's changing the hair industry from the inside out. Your journey to renewed confidence and self-discovery starts here. Today, we explore episode 8, What is Your Magic? Your magic, that enchanting essence that defines you, is a symphony of your unique talents, passions, and dreams. It's the spark that ignites your creativity, the compass guiding your purpose, and the fire in your belly that propels you forward. Your magic is the sum of your experiences, your resilience, and your ever evolving journey to self discovery. The way you see the world differently, the way you touch hearts and inspire minds, the way you weave your own extraordinary narrative into the tapestry of existence. In embracing your magic, you uncover your true power, the power to shape your reality, to make a difference, and to leave this indelible mark on the world. It's a force that flows from your soul, waiting to be unleashed, to illuminate your path and manifest your wildest dreams. So ask yourself, what is your magic? And in its radiant glow, you'll find the key to living a life that's uniquely brilliant and authentically yours. So let's get started. In the comments, let us know where you're from and if you're watching live or watching the replay. So make sure to please share this live. Make sure to heart it up to let the social media platform know you're enjoying this content. So what are the 3 words that come to mind when you think, what is your magic? Share in the comments. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to invite my co-host here, so Mariana. So we're going to talk all about what is your magic today. So that is going to be exciting. And as you said, it's going to be a juicy episode today.
It's going to be juicy.
So let's dive deep into it. So yeah, everybody, if you're on, say hi. We welcome you to come, make a comment, let us know you're here, and then we'll kind of roll in today. So today again is part 8. What is your magic? So I'll let Mariana start and say, what is your magic? What is magic all about? How can we use it in the workplace? How can we use it in the salon? You know, how do we make it? What is it? So let's dive in deep.
Big conversation. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, I would say, to you all listening. Very honored to be here again today to share a really juicy and delicious subject. So now we're sort of entering the magical element of Evolve and the template of entering that doorway of beyond the physical, beyond the tangible. This is the sensory. This is the intuitive. This is the non-visible. But the very, very, very present element that we're really engaging with when we're looking at building, I will have to say, a spiritual practice. When we're actually looking at mind, body, and spirit, we're moving into the spiritual aspect of building this practice now. And that is starting with understanding what it is that your magic is. What I like to call, what is your superpower? is what I like to call it, because when you really drop in to the essence of what it is that you do so effortlessly in your life, and I'm going to give an example here. And the example is, if you are naturally clairvoyant, something that is my superpower is clairvoyance. And if that is a gift of yours, if to see beyond a person's immediate world is your gift, understanding this gift when you're working is unbelievably powerful to have. So before we even enter the world of the spiritual realm, where we're creating spaces for ritual and we're creating spaces for deeper connected engagements with our clients, we're creating experiences here. The experiences, there's knowledge and then there's experience. There's knowledge and then there's trust. There's knowledge and then there's surrender. There's knowledge and then there's the unknown. So preparing you for delving and walking into the realm of the unknown is where we're going today.
Ooh, that is juicy. It's so exciting. Yeah, as you say, like you say, a lot of people don't know what their superpowers is. Like, do you have ESP? Do you use your ESP? We all kind of have a feeling around people, around ourselves, what's kind of there. And I think you can kind of, if you can tap into that superpower or know how to tap into that superpower, that can definitely help you around others, and it can definitely help you in the workplace.
Mm. Absolutely. And I mean, I want to use a little personal story here. I don't often use stories, but stories are really, really wonderful to sort of like engage with. And we hear them all the time. We hear them all day with our clients. So it's very relevant. I was early days in my business in Melbourne, and I always knew I was clairvoyant. I've known I was clairvoyant since I was 4 years old. And I was with a client, and I had this incredible, magical, mystical experience for the first time. This is the first time that it ever happened to me, where I stepped into her world. I actually stepped into her world, and I could see her present, her future. I could see everything. And I was immersed in this woman's world. And I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with it at the time. And it was overwhelming because, and I'm going to use the extension of how this happens, and that's why I'm using this story, is we're so closely enmeshed with our clients. We are in such close proximity. And what happens is the magic of resonance and morphogenic fields, which is also, it's the science of resonance, morphogenic fields, same and one in the one. But when you're in that closeness with another human being, what happens is the mystical appears beyond the resonance. Then you step into the realm of the mystical, you step into the realm of the magical. And this is what goes on that's unexplained. So what I like to do with my evolved students is we really need to come in and actually see and play and explore with what is your what are your superpowers? Are you someone that can actually, that hears messages? Are you somebody that really feels deeply? Because we've got a lot of like empathetic people in our industry. So really feels deeply because we've got that ability already. And I would say, I would very comfortably say that 98% of hairdressers that I've ever met have all been empaths. All of them have all been empaths. So naturally you have got that clairsentient sense about you where you're able to connect with another person and beyond just the connection, but you're really feeling their feelings. You're really taking on board. And if we go back a little bit, we go back to the psychology of hairdressing, and we actually go back and we just remember that little piece on transference that we spoke about. This is the boundary. We learn about transference earlier on because when you get to your magic, you know where that boundary is between what is being transferred between you and a client and what is really magical and beyond you and the client. And now we're stepping into what is really beyond you and the client. This is where I say, let go and let God. And this is the little piece that I like to bring in here. And this is let go and let God, because there's so much more. There's so much more that can happen in the resonance and the beauty of two people spending time together, that what ends up transpiring is far beyond what you could have ever imagined. So we're stepping into this possibility of creating more magic than you can imagine as a human being. It's beyond that realm. It's beyond that veil. So it happens when we're in a state of resonance. And I like to actually say you're actually in a state of a trance with a client. When you get to that point where you've had a really deep consultation and there's emergence that's actually happened between you and your client. Emergence is an amazing word. Just be with it. There's an emergence, there's an emerging and an emergence of that emerging that just, I'm just trying to find the right word, that actually liquefies is the word that I want to use. It liquefies you into one dissolved energetic being. Now, remember, we're in magic now. So we're stepping out of transference and we're actually in the state of dissolvement, still knowing what our boundaries are, still understanding who we are, knowing what is going on in our humanness and our client's humanness and safety. But there's this, and I want to hear if anybody's ever had this experience, if anybody's listening right now, if anybody's ever had this experience where it's just like, that was the most magical experience I've ever had. Like, it was, I don't know what that was, but it was magical. So, and I've had gazillions of them. So, and this is the reason why I can write about them. And they're actually, What is Your Magic is a module in Evolve, because there is this very potent need and knowledge of understanding of how these extensions of ourself also inform the services and the engagement and how we serve our clients. So it is an imperative piece, I believe.
Exactly. Some points that you made, I find that for a lot of people, they find it difficult. So we're talking about magic, but magic can't happen really. So do you find it, so anybody watching, do you find it difficult to let go? So I think because a lot of us, you said let go and let God, but the thing is, if you're not able to let go, how can some of that magic happen? How can that like amoeba status happen? How can you, because all of us have this thing where we need to be in control. We need to be in control of our situations. We need to be in control of ourselves. We need to be, so letting go is very scary for people, but letting go can be wonderful. It can be magical. It can be, your unicorn that's coming, coming there to meet you. But I think that's a big thing in our lives, is learning to let go of what no longer serves us, let go of some, I think, things, paradigms we kind of keep in our mind. But when you're with that client, you never know where the conversation is going to go. And I think some of the best experiences are the ones you don't remember, because you're in the moment and you're present and you're mindful that whole time. So after you're done, you're like, wow, you have the feeling with you, but you don't really know exactly what happened. So I think that's the big thing, is letting go. So if anybody in the audience is watching, do you find it difficult to let it go or let things go? We'd love to hear from you. Or if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments and we'll bring you up, because we do love to appreciate you. So how do you feel about letting go? Mariana?
I'm in a constant state of let go.
Hmm.
I'm in constant state of let go. One of the greatest gifts that meditation teaches us is the state of becoming the observer. That is the gift of meditation.
Hmm.
stilling the mind and being able to become the witness of your life, still being present to everything that's going on. So one of the greatest gifts that I employ deeply in Evolve to do with my students is have a meditation practice where you're allowing yourself to become the witness of what is going on in your internal world. Now we're really stepping into the magical element of us, and it is the spiritual part of us. It's the believing, and if this is not for you, it's not for you, but this is the deep belief of the self, of the soul, of your spirit, and being able to become that witness within your body and just allow everything to move in front of you and not get caught up in it. Observe it, just witness it. Now, over the years of me doing this work, the more I actually surrendered and became the witness and just became the observer, which in Evolve, we learn how to become the guide. And this is a very, very important point, is like you stop becoming the advisor and you start becoming the guide. And this is the linchpin. This is the nut and bolt of what actually associates and attaches our knowledge, our information, our wisdom of being in the industry. But like, how do we trust our intuition? How do we trust our deeper knowing? How do we trust what a client is non-verbally communicating to us and make sense of that? It's not knowledge, it's wisdom. And there's a real difference between the knowledge and now we're stepping into wisdom with magic. It's like, what is your wisdom? And maybe some of you that have been in this industry for a really long time might actually really understand this point that I'm talking about. It's like you acquire, I mean, I've been in the industry for almost 39 years, but you acquire this, what is it, Brad? You acquire, it's not even a bag. You acquire this plethora, I think is probably the most appropriate word for this.
Yeah.
You acquire a plethora of wisdom from being with people, experiencing and observing and witnessing people's nature, the way that they talk, the way that they present, the way that they show up. So you actually start accumulating this incredible library of human experience understanding. And that actually starts informing the intuition. That is where we're at intuition now. We sort of like, we drop from, now we've got the observer, we're in witness, and then we move from that into the years of wisdom and that informing our intuition, where we're now in this empowered place along with our superpower going, well, I'm clairvoyant or I'm clairsentient or I'm clairaudient. Those superpowers that we have. And we mix that in, we bring that in, we bridge that in to the superpower and the intuition now. Now, I've just said too, I mean, I don't know if anybody's listening to this that can actually really understand what would occur, what concoction, what beautiful little, mixture we've actually created here between your superpower and your intuition when you're working with people. This is realm. I'm deepening us into the realm of what magic really is. And it's very tangible. It is very accessible to us. We just need to know the steps in.
Exactly. And a lot of times they say, a hairstylist, you're a magician, right? Or you're this sort of thing. But I think with talking about intuition, when you're with a client, I think you would have something in mind that would make them look amazing, but they're the ones that are holding back. They're not going to, they don't want to allow themselves to let that magic happen because they're afraid. What if I look too good? What if people started noticing me? What if I become the center of attention? What if, you know what I mean? And that could happen through a new haircut. It could happen through a color. It could happen through a combination of, but somebody that's so in tune with their client, you know, and that's one of the things I think we have to learn as stylists. We have to learn to tap into our client. What do we feel about them? Do we know what their limits are? Do we know when they say do whatever you want, does that mean do whatever you want? Chances are it doesn't. It means do whatever you want within my boundaries, right? So you want to tap into them, but to say that intuition, and I think because we are guides to them, we are somebody that kind of leads them. That's the thing. If you have something that's really great, you have a vision for your client, you think this would be amazing on you, do you, those that are watching, do you tap in and tell them? Like when you find resistance, or you find like they could have a magical life just by changing the way they are, because obviously your inner should match the outer, but that's, I think, a magical part too. You know, as us as magicians, so to speak, if you can create on the outside what the client has on the inside, I think that's another superpower.
This is where we're going to. You know, like if we're talking about transforming clients from the inside out, what we really need to establish is, okay, so how do we get to the insides? How do we dig deeply into the internal landscape of a person and bring that out? Like hair is a reflection. It can be, and it is in my world, it is a complete reflection of the internal landscape of a client, of a person's world. But it takes the patience and the skill and the guidance to actually very gently guide your clients into themselves, into their own landscape, where they're able to communicate from a place of what being authentic, or who their authentic person is to them, not a projected image or version of what we have of them, but what it is for them. And then the magic is about what kind of a space can you create around you? How does your environment actually nurture and support this kind of unpacking, this unfurling with your clients to occur? And it comes down, and we look at this and evolve deeply, because it comes down to how you set your environment up, what state you are in. Are you present? Are you relaxed? Are you in a state of observation? Are you able to witness your client and let whatever, again, let go and let God actually occur in that space, but not letting go of wisdom and knowledge and the understanding and safety and your container within the space. It's allowing now everything, the next layer of everything to come in now. And it's like, okay, we're gonna throw, it's like we're making a cake and now we're throwing a pinch of magic in it. So how do we dance in the internal landscape of a client?
Exactly. So we have Sharon Gleason on, who says, I have words drop in that's relevant to the client, but I also watch their body language and feel their energy.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And that is a clairaudient and clairsentient experience right there. That's the superpower right there that's talking to us. So Sharon's aware that she is actually able to hear words, that her primary superpower is clairaudient, and then clairsentient is her engagement with another client, feeling resonance, connection, empathy, and these areas. So like we start off with the empathetic nature, but when we actually go deeper, we actually get into the empathetic magic. How does empathy transform and transpire into magic? How can we feel something and go, oh, this is theirs? Because you're that closely enmeshed, where you're enabling the swirl of magic to actually start filling the experience between your client. Thank you, Sharon. That was beautiful. What a wonderful example of what we're talking about here. Yeah, it's the delicate gold threads that we're talking about here now. This is the delicate gold threads of how we enmesh, how we understand, how we drop away, how we let go, how we allow the dissolvement of the mind to disappear, and we bring in the container of the unknown. is what we're
Hmm.
talking about.
So if we're dissolving away all the physical, so to speak, then are we going into the spiritual side, the energetic side, the, that we're kind of feeling something bigger than what we see with our eyes, what we hear with our ears? As Sharon was saying, she's tapping right in, the things are right there. And I think to have that experience, or have that, it's not just a hair appointment. Obviously, you're creating a journey for both of you, because you never know, if you're open and you're expectant and you're there in the moment, as I say, being mindful, being authentic. You're not, both of you aren't wearing any masks. Who knows what excitement can happen through that, because it's a one-on-one experience for both of you. And no wonder, they're going to leave out there. And when you both say, what, I feel amazing, but what happened? Because you can't remember, you just know you feel you're in your true self, your true expression. You're there, and you're glowing, right? I think the hairstylist glows because they know they've done something great. And the client is glowing because they're finally in a place where they feel authentic and they feel truly them when they leave your salon.
Yeah, it's I mean, we've spoken about authenticity, I think, in every single podcast that we've actually had
Mm-hmm.
together, and it is the main event with what we're talking about. And I find that when you are really completely in your authentic, when you've embraced your complete authenticity, there is nothing in the way when you're working with another person. There's nothing in the way. So what that enables is this opportunity for your client to also peel back the layers, to take off the masks. This might not be for everybody, this work, of actually peeling back the layers in a
Mm-hmm.
person. But it's been my life journey for 20 years, and whoever's doing Evolve with me next year. And it's about really getting to the rawness of somebody's truth. And you can only enable that to happen when you're in your own rawness, when you're in your own authenticity. And I want to go back to you saying glow, because that's a really powerful piece. That a lot of times I find that in our industry, we sort of we masquerade what beauty really is. We give somebody a great balayage or a great haircut or a great blow dry or whatever, a great style, whatever it is. But it's just, for me, it's the mask. It's actually the mask, because for me, when you do this work, it doesn't matter what the hair ends up looking like. What matters is that person has reached that sparkle, that glow, that lightness, that brightness within themselves. And this is what I'm talking about when we're dropping into magic. It's like, how can you dissolve all that you are to allow another person to step into their own authenticity, their own glow, their own sparkle? And that lasts with them longer than your haircut, which is the
Mm-hmm.
reason why my clients don't see me that often, because the sparkle lasts forever with them. And then they're upgraded sparkles, I call them. Oh,
Yes.
you're in for an upgraded sparkle time, are you? Yeah. They evolve. What happens is that they evolve to the next level. And what happens is they see you for a transitional moment. And we'll look at rites of passage next week. But they're coming to see you because, hey, they've hit another marker in their life and in their career, and in their lives, sorry, not in, well, potentially in their career. And they're actually moving through something, and they actually need to have support and guidance into, how do I reflect? How do I transform out of who I was into who I'm becoming? And you, as the guide, understanding this language, understanding how to, what is that person's magic right now, and where it's been, the timeline of where it's been into where it's going, what it needs to become. And then you maintain. And these journeys I've had with people, I've had for years. I've been a part, and we all know this, hairdressers are a part of people's lives for years, decades in some cases. And it's not it's not a light issue or subject here, because what's happening is when you're working with people that closely for such a long time, understanding the elements of what you're working with over those periods of time, understanding that when a client comes to you, they're actually coming to you because they're going through a change. They might be coming to see you just for a trim or a tidy up, but when they come to see you and they sit in your chair and they go, hey, Mariana, I'm just moving through something major at the moment. Major. I've lost my job. I've gotten a divorce. I'm having a baby, or something major, timeline pinnacle is actually occurring in their life. And I don't know who I am in this. These are the kind of questions that I get asked. I don't know who I am in this. I can't find myself in this. So if we're talking magic, this is what we're talking about. I can't find myself in this. Help me guide me into this place of my authenticity. And this is the journey that we're talking about. We're talking about this extended journey, this going into someone's soul and their sparkle, and allowing that to be the center stage piece that we're working with. And then the hair is secondary to that, because the hair is just a reflective tool. And that's how I see hair in my world. Hair is just a reflection of the authentic person. That is what it is. And in 99% of my cases, it's not fancy. Like I'm stripping right back here. It's not fancy. It can be, sometimes it can be bright colors, but I haven't done color work for a really long time, because what's happening is my clients are actually stripping back the layers, and they're getting more and more and more comfortable to be themselves. So it's their natural color. It's, I'm just going to keep it long because long feels good for me. I feel like I want it shorter because of my lifestyle and who I am and how I want to be in the world. That's all it's relative to, is the sensation and the feeling of what they're feeling internally, for that to express itself externally, and all the fuss just drops away. And now we're in magic, guys. Now we're in magic. That's it.
Exactly. Because every episode, we always talk about authenticity, and we also talk about boundaries in every issue. So in relation to that, with your boundaries, do you find when people are lost, they can't find themselves, do you find that their boundaries are changing, or they need to loosen their boundaries? Because maybe their boundaries are so tight that they blocked everything that they should allow in, like the magic to come in, that they've set all these boundaries. Instead of a wall to protect them, they have a wall that encloses them. So they don't allow the magic to come in. They don't allow for, maybe that authentic self to express itself fully. Or as they're changing, as they're growing, they're not even used to it, because the people around them, they always say, oh, you've changed. But then again, I think too, the boundaries also have to give and take and flow. And because you've had a boundary, I think that may change over time to benefit yourself, in a good way. It may be a protective boundary, but now maybe it's a boundary that allows you to be more open, more accepting, more flowing of your authenticity, less of, utilizing a mask or whatever, but just to be in a place where you can kind of feel and embrace that magic with certain boundaries you may not be able to. So for me, it's like I had that vision of the boundaries and the boundaries changing, and could the boundaries affect also being and not being able to find yourself and not knowing who you are. Same for your client. Do you have a thought on that, Mariana?
Oh, I have multiple.
Good. I like
Yeah,
to be a catalyst for thought.
I love that you said that. Do you have a thought? A thought. And I'm like, multiple thoughts. Always multiple thoughts. when we go on a journey, with a person, there are multiple layers to the unpacking of that journey. The first layer is getting to know them. In our consultation, I'm going to bring this right down to basics. Getting to know them in the consultation and spending time. Like I spend a good hour and a half in consultation with my clients. And the reason why I do that is because there's so many stories, there's so many things, feelings, sensations, like that actually start, they're the gold nuggets that put the puzzle together so that you as a guide can guide them into that place. So the first element is, how deep is your consultation? How deep is your consultation? And then the second element is, when you come in, and we're talking about boundaries, as you were talking about before, there's a second phase of the evolve process when you become an evolved hairdresser. And what happens is we actually move from the one-on-one, eye-to-eye contact, and we step in front of the mirror. Now, hairdressers don't use mirrors. I'm sorry, they don't. They look at them, and clients will look at mirrors, but I'm an art therapist and a therapist, and I've actually turned the mirror into a therapy tool. So when we get to the mirror, I will ask questions to the client. So how are you feeling differently now? What's going on for you? What are the words? What's associated with what you're feeling right now? And we use the mirror to project internal dialogue on. So this is a whole map process that you actually learn the map process with me in Evolve. It is absolutely foundational to being an evolved therapist, because this is the meeting point between you and the client and your client and their internal landscape, so that you can understand it even deeper. And these projections, these words, these stories, these images, oh my God, I've had some amazing art pieces. Some people don't use words, they use art, and amazing art pieces projected onto my mirrors. So I have huge sheets, like they're a wall of a mirror, so they can go crazy on them. And they're like, it's art. It's a creative process with me. So, and they express what they're feeling inside of themselves. And then we take all of that, and then we actually bring it in and create who they are in the world. So what's important here is that you have all the pieces, and you have what their new boundaries are. So in this unpacking with your clients, so what new boundaries, what new values, what new beliefs are you feeling that you have? Like, you are talking, and you learn how to do this in Evolve. We are unpacking all of this information in the consultation and the map process together, and what it means to move from an idea into a lived whole. It comes alive, is all I can say to you, is that the person's inner world comes alive. And there's magic that happens in that. So 20 years of doing this work, and it's like, I still don't have a better word to use than magic. And I know there's a better word than magic, but it's like, it's profound. It's a profound experience that goes on, where a client is, you're holding space for a client to finally see who their truth is at every turning point, because our truth changes all the time. And we'll look at rites of passage next week, and how the rites of passage actually are triggers of evolution and transformation, and the dark night of the soul, and how we actually move through that, and how that's relevant to hairdressers. It's so relevant to hairdressers. It's not funny. I mean, most of my ceremonies now that I do with clients are actually initiation ceremonies. They're moving through a rite of passage. I am actually initiating them, holding space for them to initiate, moving from one experience, one identity, one being into the next. And that needs to be done in a ritualized way. It needs to be celebrated, because, and we'll look at ritual as well next week. But because that rites of passage and ritual actually one and one the whole thing. You need to know the rites of passage and understand the rituals that actually go together to make them happen. So this is where my soul comes alive with this work. I mean, it comes alive with all of it, but this is where really I can honestly say, when I'm working, because I work one-on-one with people, I don't work in groups, I don't work in a commercial space, because it's so private what goes on. You know, like I've had people that have needed to strip their clothes off in a session with me, and like I can't be this person anymore, and we've just stripped that identity away, washed makeup off, like completely just dissolve the individual that's standing in front of us, so that we can emerge authentically, emerge in a reborn state. So when we're talking about, I mean, this is getting really deep now. Like this is getting very deep into the work that I do, and this is advanced work that I actually teach my advanced students, and how to actually really take rituals and initiations into a much deeper level, and where we're really holding space for people in that way. But when we're just talking about magic, and I'm going to bring it back because I got lost in the magic, bringing myself back out of the beautiful fountain of magic that you get lost in, and let's bring it into how these magical services show up with the clients. I just really want to bring it in there and bring it back to, remember when we were talking about initiation, right at the beginning, we were talking about the physical body, and we're talking about the sensory body, and we're talking about the emotional body and the energetic body. We're going to keep on going back to that, because magic comes from understanding who you are. I cannot explain or stress this enough. A lot of people want a quick fix solution for how to actually get to this magical place of themselves, but it's studying who you are, having the openness to constantly inquire, self-inquire, to journal, to explore thoughts, feelings, what's coming up. Who am I now? What am I now? And you are constantly doing that work on you. That is magic. That is what cultivates magic. That's
wow. Well, that
magic.
was a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not sure if our audience has been, if you've been with us since the beginning, thank you. If you're new, I say welcome. Today we're talking about what is your magic. But in the beginning, we did talk about the 4 different bodies. And it was very insightful, very, amazing content. And what we're touching on now, because I think it's the same. We're one. You think everything as a circle, the circle has no beginning, the circle has no ending. It just keeps flowing, like eternally, just keeps flowing. Unless, or an infinity sign, same type of idea. But a circle, there's no separate parts. There's no like cuts in the link sort of thing. It's all connected, mind, body, soul. But that's the way we are with life, with business, with our clients, with our home life. All these areas that we're covering all lead back to the same. And you need to balance all those areas out. But when you're in your authentic self with your boundaries, then you keep that flow flowing. Because anything that doesn't flow becomes stagnant, right? And then you get the dirty water that comes in, so to speak. So those are your negative thoughts and that can help with your boundaries. But keeping that flow, I think, allows to keep the magic as well. Because if you're always flowing, the energy is always flowing. The magic is always flowing. The experience are always flowing. You're not stuck in that one place, right? And like you said, you find, who am I? I don't know who I am, because you're not flowing. I think you always need to flow, even if you don't know where to flow. I think you just need to flow. And then that way, when you do, at least you're going a way. And if it's not your way and you're that salmon swimming upstream against the, against the current, sometimes we have to do that, but you're still moving, you're still flowing, even if it's against sometimes the grain, or people say, go with the flow. But what is your magic? What is your bliss? What is the thing that makes you happiest? Where are you, you know, energetically at your highest form? We talked about this today about checking yourself out in the mirror. Are you a 1 today on a scale of 10, or are you a 10? So energetically, does that define your day? So if you come into the salon as a 1, does that mean you're a 1 with your clients? Or does that mean you can create the energy to become a 10 with your clients? Let the magic happen and have an amazing experience, and forget that you came in feeling like a 1. And that's exactly it. You're feeling like a 1. But feelings are fickle, and feelings come and go. So just because you're feeling something doesn't always mean it's true.
Totally true. Like,
Yeah.
totally agree. It's when you're in this state, this magic state, you'll notice, if you have very strong boundaries and you have very strong awareness with yourself and you've done your work, before you've even started seeing a client, you've self-cared, you've had a practice, you've meditated, you've gone for a walk, whatever it is that you've done that's actually brought you into a state of stillness within yourself. And if something comes up when you're in this state with another person, this is taking responsibility for yourself and taking responsibility for holding space for another individual to do this work at this level. So again, I just want to, really emphasize here that we're not just talking about doing a haircut anymore. If you've missed, or we've lost you somewhere along the line of these 8 podcasts, where we're not talking about doing hair anymore. We're not. We've actually stepped beyond that. We're actually stepping into the human experience. We're stepping into the unknown of what really goes on when 2 people connect. So we're really, and this is everything that can be brought into the salon, like fundamentally, because all this information, like in any industry, in any vocation, in any professional work or state, you have knowledge that you acquire that you don't see anywhere. It's actually inbuilt within you. You have acquired the knowledge through study, through research, through understanding, through life experiences, through wisdom, through knowing and observing life around you. And it grows and grows and grows as you grow with what it is that you're doing. And the human experience is exactly the same thing that we're talking about. So I want to, I get really lost in magic, and I notice my whole body starts swirling in that dissolved state of just let God and let go and let God. That whole, and what happens is that I literally invoke that into the space in my conversations, and so it's something I'm aware of. But when you actually tap it into you, it happens organically. So your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions and your stories actually dissolve in this place, and when we're serving another, and I want to bring it into serving another at the highest level, when we're serving another at the highest level, because we're not doing hair anymore, remember, when we're serving at this level, we're actually allowing our story to not fill the space. We're allowing our ego not to be filling the space. We're allowing our pain or whatever's going on. We're aware of it. It's not about shutting it out and becoming disassociated. We're aware of it, but it's not about us in that moment. It is about the client, and it is about what's going on between you and your client. And it's about keeping the authenticity. That's what's going on between you and your client, is this magical exchange of authentic person meeting authentic person.
Mm-hmm.
That's magic. That's magic. That's, for me, is two souls communicating. That's where I'm going with this. It's like your soul and their soul are having a conversation now. Now that we've reached
Exactly.
that point.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, because when we go to school, these are a lot of tools and techniques they don't teach us in school. They teach us how to do service, but they don't necessarily teach us how to be a servant, which is two different things. And servant doesn't have a negative connotation on it. I think if you're in your highest self, to be a servant is an honor, that you can do that for someone. You can guide them, you can heal them, you can be there, you can listen for them, you can create an experience with them. And this series that you've been listening to, it's all about going deeper. It's all about having a deeper connection with your client. It's about having a deeper understanding of your client. Who is this person that I'm creating magic for, right? Or who am I to, and to say, yeah, we leave the ego outside the door. We as I say, it's again, no dumping zone, where you kind of have your boundaries set, where they're there to express and to find out, and not just gossip and do all that kind of stuff, but you're creating by your languaging, by your body, whether it's energetic, physical, that kind of shows people, right? And because when people first look at you, what do they notice first? Usually it's your energy or your aura around you, but generally they kind of look at your body. Is your body upright, shoulders back, chest out, or are you hunched over? Are you like, my back is killing me because I just pulled a 12-hour yesterday? But this new client, they obviously don't care about that. They're there for the journey that they're going to have with you. And if you kind of get yourself out of, like you say, dissolve all that stuff away, dissolve all that pain and that stuff that's around you, and just become that authentic self. Because some of that is, and one thing I learned a long time ago is that pain is an illusion, whether it be physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain. It only has the meaning that you attach to it, like we have with everyday life, because like some people may see the pool behind me and say, they put a great meaning that brings me back to the day when I was a kid and we are splashing around. But then somebody else may have a different meaning to it because something tragic happened around a pool. So it's really knowing that person and how things are going to set certain off. It's even with colors, because even if you're doing color like Mariana, you don't really do much anymore. But even certain colors for clients, I think, can trigger them. And we talked about trauma before, because they remember somebody who has that color, and that's what triggers for them. But if you're listening and you're in those moments and you're creating that magic, all that kind of dissolves away, because now they're coming into their own authentic power. They're coming into their own mask-free life, whether it's, say, taking off the makeup. And a lot of celebrities are doing that now. They've did years of being in makeup, being in this, and they're just stripping it all away, because they're getting to an age now where so Pamela Anderson, I know
Yeah.
people know her. So she's Canadian. And then went to the States, but the same. She came out and she's known for being, on Baywatch and those sort of things. But she said, no, I'm going to step back. I'm going to strip all this makeup away, which I think makeup should enhance, but not become a mask for you, a sort of thing. But when you're creating magic, like I said, if you can start to dissolve a lot of the things around you that you don't need anymore, or are filters, I think we should kind of look at how we filter, because we filter everything on life experience, our thoughts, feelings, emotions. We always have this filter. If we can kind of rise above that um, flesh or carnal filter, go more into a spiritual realm, sort of speak, without being kind of woo woo on you, but generally just kind of be your authentic self, and not kind of be into what people expect. Because maybe the people that think you are a certain way, you're not even that person at all, but you're behind that mask, you're playing that role. So maybe it's time to break away from that, and say, let's wave the wand and create some magic.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And I'm really going to empathize right here in this moment of us having this conversation. It's not an easy choice to strip back the veils and to strip back the layers and the masks and to really stand in who we are, especially in this masked world, in this filtered world that we live in. And I feel like I'm, this is going to get a little bit of me taking a stand, but I stand for us dissolving those veils. I stand for us really celebrating the authenticness of every human being and their magical uniqueness without these filters that we're adapting from socials and the world and advertising and marketing of this is how you should be. And this is what it's saying. This is how you should be. Not who are you? What would you like to be? So I'm advocating with let's get rid of this is who you should be to who are you? Who would you like to be? And just imagine, having a world. This is like a little piece. Imagine living in a world where every single client is absolutely authentic and unique. Imagine living in a world where you're not doing the same blow wave and the same color and the same cut over and over and over until you can do it with a blindfold on and your hands tied behind your back and you just blow on it and it'll actually transform into that because it's happening everywhere. And these images that are actually cascading the streets where every single other woman looks the same. Every single other man is starting to look the same, the same haircuts, same colors, same looks, same clothing. Where is the unique artist is what I am. This Evolve actually stands for actually bringing to light the authentic human being back to their magic, back to their truth, back to who they are. And it's a journey, it's a personal journey of going inwards within yourself and stripping the dogma, stripping the programs, the ideas of it needs to be like this and it needs to be. No, it doesn't. It just needs to be. It just needs to be.
Yeah, and that's one thing we always get. Well, it's always been that way. Well,
Yep.
before that, it wasn't always that way.
Nope.
Somebody made it the standard, or somebody said something, and now it's the standard. You know what I mean? But I'd love to ask our audience a question. How do you celebrate your clients, or how do you edify others, or how do you do it for yourself? Like, do you celebrate yourself when you've done something great or achieved a milestone? Do you edify yourself when you're feeling down? Because that's really going to, I think, attribute to your magic. So to me, magic is also where your energy is. Like if you're high vibrational energy, your low vibrational energy, that's going to affect how the magic happens. Whether it's, in the air or in a I'll say crock pot, but but it's at the kind of lowest level and you're stirring the pot. Which I
Cauldron.
mean, exactly. That's the word. The
Stirring the
cauldron.
cauldron you're looking
But as
for.
I say, but it's about stirring the pot. And why use your magical powers to stir the pot, right? We have enough of that. We actually have too much of that, but it's like, I really love to know like how people celebrate. Or if you don't want to write in, if you don't want to comment, maybe think about it, maybe write it down. One thing we suggest too, always have a journal. Write down your experiences. Maybe have your own book of magic. But it's and when you open it up, it's how it was created or what happened. Or so that's a great thing to look on, that you can reflect back onto when you kind of, the memory goes and a lot of things are happening. You can go back into that book of magic, and then you can see all the magical, wonderful life experiences that you've had thus far.
I want to highlight the word power that you shared just before,
Mhm.
and bring to the awareness of the amount of power that hairdressers have with clients. And how do you use that power? This is a question that I want to actually, ask as well here. How do you use that power when you're working with a client and they are, innocently looking up at you going, please help me, please save me, please change me, and they're actually giving that energy off. But when you take away, when you start, this is the advisor, and I want to just have an example here of being empowered and empowering, and being powerful and disempowering, and how that looks. And this is actually also an element of magic. When you empower your client, when you ask open questions, and you're empowering your client to self-inquire, you're handing them the power. You're not losing your power. If anything, you're being responsible by not taking on somebody else's power. So this is an ethical little piece that I'm talking about, because yes, we can be in a magical world, and yes, we can actually create magic with our clients, but what do we do with the power that we receive from them? How do we actually balance that out in an exchange with our clients? Because when you empower a client to stand in their truth, you end up triggering a ripple effect of empowered people in their world as well. It doesn't give you less empowerment. It actually gives you freedom, because you're not carrying another person's power and being responsible for it in your hands. You're handing the baton over to them and stating very clearly, saying, I am a guide. What is it for you? What does it mean for you? What sense do you make out of this for yourself? This is what I notice, that ego and power really go together. And I notice that a lot of hairdressers think that's magic. I've got all this magic because I've got all this power, and my clients come in and they go, just do what you want. And it's like, and they think that's magic, and it's not. I'm a magician. I just created this amazing haircut. It's not. It's not. I'm sorry to disappoint you. This is a little piece. It's not at all. It's you taking away the power from a client, from really getting them to explore and experience and share with you what it feels like for them. All you're doing is projecting your idea of what you think they should be in the world, and that's disempowering them. It is not empowering them. It actually is a completely different thing. So yeah, I really want to stress with hairdressing, ego and power, which is a really big, enmeshed culture in our industry of that's the thing, Yeah, I have the magic wand, and people come to see me because I am magical and I am wonderful and I create these amazing looks. But are the people that you're doing them on associated with them? Are they part of the journey, or are they disassociated from the experience? Have you brought them along through the transformation, or have you taken that away from them and filled your ego bank up? I did 12 amazing, fabulous haircuts that walked out today, and you have no idea how the client felt about it, other than saying, oh, that looks wonderful, thank you very much, paid you the money and walked out the door. What was really the experience? So power, guys.
Exactly. It's there's so much in that could be an episode on its own. But I think the ultimate goal for anything is always freedom. So I think freedom, it's kind of, to me, freedom is magic, because freedom is what I think it's the ultimate goal of what we actually want. Everybody thinks it's something else. I want a happy home. I want more money. It's never that. I think it's what that will give you. Right. So usually the freedom comes with peace, comes with joy, comes with happiness. Because people are like, I want to make money. Well, why do you want to make money? Because it's not the money itself, it's what the money will do.
Mm.
Maybe it's having more time with family. Maybe it's buying that dream car or home or whatever. But in essence, it's the freedom. And I think that's another magic that you create for yourself, which I think reflects that's what you also want to do for your client as well, is give them freedom. Like Mariana said, I did 12 amazing haircuts. They all went out. But do those clients feel free, or did they feel trapped into a hairstyle that now, they all have? So you did 12 amazing haircuts. They're all bobs. And they all look exactly the same. So when these people walk around town, they know exactly who they went to,
Mm.
because they're like, oh, so and so did that because they're the bob, kind of person. But is that client feeling like, are you giving them power to feel
Mm.
free in themselves, giving them that freedom to say, yes, this is what I want. And if
Mm.
a bob is what they want and that's their freedom, that's great. But if you're boxing them in a box bob, then you know what I mean? They're not really truly free either.
Mm. It's a concept, it's like what we're stepping out of is the concept of freedom, what the
Mhm.
concept of freedom really
Yeah.
means, really. And we're breaking away. Like this podcast is amazing because what we're doing is we're really challenging the old ideals of and concepts and ways of being that we have been for so long and been so contracted. And I'm challenging the status quo of our industry with that, because that's where the burnout comes from, and that's where the stress comes from, and that's where all the fatigue and all the other stuff come from, which is toxic. It
Mm.
is toxic. And the way you think and the way that you present and the way that you actually disempower people and all, it's actually toxic. It's not freedom. It's not wonderful. It's toxic. So when we're looking at how we create magical containers, the magical containers for us is like, how do we get rid of that toxic behavior? How do we actually stop, projecting our ideas onto our clients? How do we stop controlling everything in that way? I'm not saying not having boundaries or ethics or any of that protocol in your business container. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about the old ideas that we have been raised up in this industry to believe are the status quo of what it means to be a successful hairdresser, not a successful person. I'm separating the two. If you're listening to this, it's all the old program and protocol of what it means to be a successful hairdresser. But now we're stepping into holistic models, and holistic models are really at the forefront of change in our industry. And it's about how can we become a successful human being? How can we actually show up in everything that we are and really celebrate those elements, those unique elements of who we are, without the past program, without the chains, without the stories of what it is to be a successful hairdresser, but really start stepping into being a successful person. So that's the freedom that we're talking about here. It's like, that's the element, that's the linchpin, that is the bolt of freedom. It sets you free, it sets what you're doing free. It just drops away the whole contracted idea of what art is. It's a concept, a projected concept from the hairdresser to the client, which we just discussed before. But what is real art? When you're painting a canvas, when you're working on a canvas and we're talking back about magic here, and you're just standing in front of a blank canvas and you're standing and go, I don't know what I'm going to paint. Where does that urge, where does that inspiration come from within you to start picking up a color and a paintbrush with that color on it and splash it on the canvas? This is what I'm talking about. If we wait for the client to inspire us, to be the inspiration that triggers the artist within us to create. Can you see where I'm going? Yeah, that triggers the client, that triggers us to create by being inspired by their unique and authentic story. Now that is what really wants to go on the canvas. That letting go of the idea of, yeah, but that's not in fashion. We're not talking about any of that world in these podcasts at all. We're not talking about fashion. We're not talking about what's cool. We're not talking about what's going to be Insta popular. We're not talking about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about what is going to be authentic.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And that's why, because it leads to then when you have the client in your chair, it's that being able to ask the right questions rather than just saying same as last time, just a trim, because then you're cutting off that communication. Because then the client is going to feel, okay, they're not really interested. I had an amazing idea. I really want this. It would be fun to do. And then they come in, they sit down, they're excited. You're like, just a trim. And they're like, yep. And then they get it and then they leave. And then the next time you don't see them again because they found somebody who would listen to them, who wanted to expand deeper in this conversation and get excited about what they want. They're like, hey, maybe I want that Farrah Fawcett look from the 70s or whatever. I mean, yeah, I'd say, yeah, that would be really fun. It'll challenge me, but yeah, let's do it. And let's, whatever it might be for them. But we also want to bring out the real them in that. You know what I mean? Rather than just, like you said, being an assembly line kind of thing that you're going to look like everybody else. Let's take this, tweak it, so it really, really fully embodies the client, so they have the full and best version of themselves.
Active word, linchpin word here is why. Why? When you've got a client in your chair and they say, I want that Farrah Fawcett haircut because that looks like fun. To me, it's why. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me what that haircut represents inside of you. What feelings, what stirrings does it inspire in you? What is it about? What is it associated to? Because when they get the haircut and they go home and they can't do it, right? This is right.
Yeah.
And they've associated their fun. This haircut is going to give me this feeling I want to have inside of me. And they go home and they can't reproduce the feeling that you gave them in that chair. You're going to disappoint them. And they're going to be disappointed. And they're not going to have that feeling. And they're forever chasing this feeling externally from themselves that something, a haircut, an outfit, whatever is going to make me happy, is going to give me this sensation. But what about if we actually bring it into the why? Like, tell me why and where that is inside of you. Find that within them. Like, let's find that happiness within you. What makes you happy? Like, these are the kind of questions in communication that we learn to start doing. So what happens is like my experience with my clients, I don't even blow dry my clients' hair. It's like, it's their hair. Great. Awesome. Fantastic. It's me, because they're in who they are. The hair is an extension of a reflection of what they're moving through. That's it. It's not the main event anymore. So when we're stripping it back and when we're taking a look at what is real and what isn't, what is authentic and what isn't, what is the purpose of what we're doing and what isn't, that in itself becomes art. And it's, the authenticity of the person becomes the art.
Because as hairstylists, we're dealing with now people bringing their phones. We're dealing with all these images, these filtered images. sort of thing, which is not real. But we kind of want to get away from that, or just say, get the points of like, what is the feeling that they're having? What is this going to mean to you if you had the style? Because sometimes it's not really the image they're showing you, it's the feeling of what that image will give them and the lifestyle that they think. But that's all part of marketing too. You know what I mean? Have this cocktail, have these cigarettes. You're gonna be, if you smoke these cigarettes, you're gonna be popular. Have all these friends. You'll be a cowboy in the, you know what I mean? There's these images and that's really what they're selling. They're selling the experience as opposed to the actual what it's going to do for you. Like, and two, you may see these fantasy colors because you want to be a mermaid, but the reality is, what is the upkeep going to be? Washing your hair in cold water, it's not going to last the same amount of time as a regular permanent color. And what if it fades? Like, there's all these other things that we kind of want to break. We have a little less than 15 minutes left, so we're going to kind of start to wind down and wrap up a little bit. Is there anything, Mariana, that we need to kind of still cover before we kind of do our closing comments?
I'm just going to leave you guys with one little piece. Is like, how can you get rid of photos and phones in your salon? Like, really make a stand for, let's just one. The first thing is, let's just remove that. Don't show me a photo. Don't show me a phone. Let's have a conversation. So that's sort of something I want to encourage at the end of this, because when we get rid of devices, when we get rid of the external what's the word? External influences. And we actually just drop in and just be present to what's going on and what's in front of us, what's real in front of us, not what we're going to go in the back room and cultivate and whip up all the colors and masterfully actually create, which you still could do because it will still be authentic to that person. But how could you actually get rid of the phones where you're not allowing your clients to be distracted by external projections of what is not them, which will alleviate, I guarantee you 100%, it will alleviate the pressure in your body of trying to make someone something they're not. That is my and then you drop into the magic, because when that is externalized and it's not there anymore in the makeup of what's going on between you and another person, you're actually saying, yes, I'm going to allow magic to actually be present here with us today.
Wow. Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up, I'm so glad that we're now, I guess next week will be, we're three quarters of the way through. So we've been through now 9 of the, so it'll be our 9th episode. So which will be 3/4 of our 12-part series. If you missed some and you want to go back, you can always go to the Hairstylist Empowerment podcast page or listen on to the Hairstylist Empowerment podcast. But to kind of go over some points, do you have ESP? So how many here watching have ESP or some type of knowing or some type of clairvoyance? Do you find it difficult to let go? Is it easy for you to let go of stuff, or you find it difficult to let go? And to your clients also, how do you celebrate? How do you celebrate? How do you edify others? Are you allowing the exchange of power? Are you, lifting them up with what you're doing? And also, too, how do you use that power? When you have that power with that magic, how are you using that power? Right? And the ultimate end is freedom, is what we all want. And same with the client. I think that's what they want sometimes when they pick a style. They think it's going to be easy for them. So they think, oh, this will give me such freedom if I get my hair done like this. But they don't realize once they wake on and they toss all night and they do this, it has to also match them and their lifestyle as well, sort of thing. If anybody has any questions, put them in the comments as we wrap up, and I can bring you up, sort of thing. As say, we had a comment, I'll just bring it up again. So from Sharon Gleason, I have words dropped in that's relevant to the client, but also watch their body language and feel their energy. So how many people watching have actually done that? Watch their body language, not necessarily the body, but body language can also be, is the mouth turned down? Is the mouth turned up? Are they listening? Um, do they have a weird face when you're mentioning something, or you're like, I'm going to give you a green mohawk, you're going to love it. And they're not. And Sharon again, yes, I'm open and honest with everything that comes through, which too, when you're in your authentic self, that's when you're going to have the best exchange and creation of magic. So as we kind of go and we wrap up, wow, this went so fast. They always go so fast. So,
Mhm.
but before I kind of wrap up, Marianne, if you want to tell them what we're going to talk about next week on next week's podcast.
Oh, next week is going to be really, really beautiful. We're actually looking at rites of passage and ritual next week, and how that shows up in the salon, like how to identify rites of passage when someone's moving through a transitional period in their life. Yeah, that's what we're
Oh,
talking about.
wow. So, and that's a
Yeah,
big thing because we as hairdressers are there for so many rites of passage, and what it really means, and we'll go deep like we always do and break it down,
absolutely.
that sort of thing. I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Hairstylist Empowerment Podcast series with Bedhead. Sorry, not Bedhead. I'm thinking bedtime because for me it's late. But with Head Ed, Marianne from Head Ed, who's the founder of Head Ed, and myself, B-Rad Celebrity Hairstylist. You can follow us at myself at Hairstylist Empowerment Podcast on Facebook, also on IG at um, B-Rad Celebrity Hairstylist, and on Beauty Industry Cruises. Mary Anna, you can follow her on Facebook, on Head Ed, as well as IG at head.ed.evolve. And also there's her website, www.headed.com.au, because she is in Australia.
Mhm.
So her timing, it's first thing in the morning for her. It's the last thing in the evening for me. So if my words are a little off, I'm being authentic, and we're just here. But I want to say thank you for watching. And also, too, if you want to see Mary Anna and I live in January, we'll be part of the Beauty Industry Cruises in Australia, where you can come, you can join us, where we'll be kind of enhancing changing the hairdressers from the inside out. So for those looking for change, that want something different, that are looking for something different and really want to come into their authentic selves, join us. So I'll show you a little bit about what it's about.
Always knew you, even when I didn't know you. Don't make sense, but it do. I was on my way to you.
I think being in your authentic self is not also changing yourself from the inside out, but it's also relating to others. We also having experience with 5-star Michelin chefs to really enjoy the great things and experience that magic. I've already done a cruise before. We had 16 amazing educators, and when you have an experience, and Virgin, who will be on, is all about that experience. And kind of say Virgin Voyages, they don't call it a ship, it's actually a super yacht, and they believe in creating not just a voyage but a journey. And that's really what it is for each person. It's that journey that you're going to have. It's about creating that magic that you're going to have on the ship and the experience. And we're leaving Melbourne, Australia, so it's our experience happening from Australia. So if you're from Australia or wanted to visit Australia, now's your time to do it. It's coming in the new year, and then everything will be ready to go with the lineups and all that kind of stuff. And I'd like Mariana just kind of let people know a little bit more about Evolve and kind of what's happening, when it's starting, what they're going to get, you know.
Well, Evolve is a 12-month journey, and it starts on the 1st of February is the first module release, but there's actually pre-course work that starts in January, and it's all relative to self-inquiry and actually looking deeply into yourself. It's about you spending some time with yourself before we step into the content on the 1st of Feb. And it's a small container of 20 people that I'm taking, because I'm taking you through this myself. And that is my capacity. And that's why it's a small container. It's 12 months. And everything that we've been talking about, plus 1,000 times more in Evolve. It's a 620-page book. So that's like all the content that you're going to be moving through and understanding the theory behind everything that I've been talking about and sharing. You'll actually understand the theory behind it all and have the practical skills and the somatic knowledge of how to move through this content creatively, artistically, fluidly, and professionally, and do something different instead of just doing hair. Take people on journeys. So the end result of Evolve is learning how to take another person on a really beautiful, deep journey and understanding the human experience from your own to theirs to the end result. So I'm really excited about Evolve next year. It's it is a deep journey with people when I go on it with them, and it's a container. It's closed. There's no one else that enters the container once we've begun the container. So enrollments are open now for it. So please register and book your blueprint call with me. You just have to go to www.headed.com.au and follow the Evolve thread that will lead you to booking a discovery call with me, and we'll have a conversation and see whether you're ready at the moment to evolve.
Exactly. And we love, of course, Mariana and I would love, before Evolve starts, for everybody to jump on board on the Beauty Industry Cruise in Australia, January 2024, where we can all meet each other. We can get a head start. We can do some amazing, exercises and go deep and have fun and visit a lot of amazing places. And again, we'll see everybody next time.